Hi, I'm Kristina. I'm the youth worker for Seagate. So usually I'm speaking to young people, but I get to join the wider crowd today. So fun to get to be here. And before I start, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been contributing to devotions. It's been really encouraging getting to hear other people's hearts in this season, and actually really beautiful the common themes that are coming out as well and different perspectives. So thank you so much. And what I'm gonna share today is something that's been jumping out at me everywhere in my personal reading, in some of our youth Bible studies that we had planned, and in some other books I've been reading. So God's been really highlighting this to me, and I want to share it for your encouragement and growth in this season as we follow Jesus together. And so what's been standing out for me is the theme of rest, the theme of Sabbath, and can feel like a strange time to talk about rest for some of us that maybe have more time than you know what to do with, more time than you've ever had, maybe too much time spent with yourself, except for all you introverts out there. But it's a bit of a weird season right now, and I'm hearing from some that they're quite bored, don't really know what to do with themselves, and you kind of can fall into not really doing anything. And it's a tough time because a lot of our favorite entertainment and activities are just not an option for us right now. And rest can maybe sound like the last thing we need. And rest is something we long for when we're busy, when the schedule is packed. And maybe it's not something we're thinking of right now, but I found it really interesting seeing that the first time God sets a Sabbath for his people in the Bible, who sets this day of rest, it's also in a time of upheaval, and it's in Exodus. And this is where the Israelites have been liberated from their slavery in Egypt. So God himself has led them out. He's performed all these amazing miracles. They've seen him do things that defy the laws of nature to rescue them and to lead them out of Egypt and to freedom and to eventually a new land that he's going to give them. And shortly after this, in Exodus chapter 16, they're led into a desert, and even after seeing God do all these incredible things to rescue them, they start to wish for the comforts of Egypt. They are missing the food, especially meat. They are hangry, and they accuse Moses of bringing them into the desert to starve. And God says to Moses that he will make food come from the sky. And so he provides quail and this new thing they've never heard of before, manna. And then they're told to go and gather manna every morning and just to take what they need to eat for the day. And anything left over is going to go rotten. And this will be the case for every day except for the sixth day, and they're told to take double the food needed for the household. And that will be the only day that it will last, the only day it won't go rotten. And then when you get to verse 23, Moses tells the people why the food will keep on that day only, and it's so that they won't have to work that day. And it's when he introduces the Sabbath, and he tells the people that is to be a holy day of rest dedicated to God. So God gives his people the very first Sabbath in the desert, which is a place of scarcity and discomfort and probably even fear. And their lives have been totally flipped upside down. And even though they've been liberated from slavery, everything they know is gone. Everything they've defined themselves by except God and some of the people that have come with them is gone. And this is a really uncomfortable situation. And what God does here is he provides so that they can rest, and the food that they collect every day for the Sabbath won't keep, because he wants them not to hoard or control or be their own security, but to actually trust that he's going to be their source of provision every day. He's going to be their source of life. And we have seen huge examples of hoarding the past few weeks across the world. I struggled to find chicken for like 2 weeks, and I really missed it. And I definitely resonated with the Israelites just there. But But jokes aside, I wonder maybe we can relate to the Israelites in this situation. Where do we try and control things in our life or our environment instead of trusting God? Or are we spending all of our time longingly looking back at our old lives, or even looking forward to a new season and all the things we can do and eat and places we can go, that we actually miss what God is doing right now, what God is saying right now? And He provides enough for them every day consistently, and He provides a new rhythm for them to rest and enjoy Him. And this becomes their new pattern of life in the desert time. And it's the new way God has for them to live. And actually, God is so serious about it that there's even punishment for not keeping the Sabbath. So that's the Old Testament. And eventually, there's a bunch of rules or laws that are added to the Sabbath. And they're there as a buffer so that basically you don't even get close to breaking the Sabbath. So you don't break step 1, 2, 3, you won't even get close, kind of thing. And there are things like, make sure you only take this amount of steps in a day. And it's quite funny to look at that compared to our culture where we're tracking everything and trying to fit more in. It's interesting to think about. But then when Jesus comes onto the scene, He talks about Sabbath and He talks about rest as well. And in the end of Matthew chapter 11, which I hope is familiar to you, He tells people to come and find rest for their souls, which is found in following Him and in keeping in close step with Him. And then as you carry on into chapter 12, He's questioned by some people looking to trap Him in His words, and He's questioned about healing a man with a shriveled hand on the Sabbath and whether it's against the law to do or not. And He redefines Sabbath for us there, and He shows us that Sabbath is about mercy and wholeness, and it's not about following the rules. And so Jesus doesn't do away with the concept, but He adds more depth to it and He redefines it. And God uses the time in the desert to reset His people and to develop a new rhythm, to take them out of a slave mentality. And He wants them to live the life He created for them, the way He created for them to live. And I just wonder if we are in a similar season for this. We can be a slave to our schedules. And before this pandemic, we were busier than ever before. And now we've been forced to stop. And we've been adjusting to a new way of living these past 2 weeks. And it has been uncomfortable. But maybe this is the time to develop new rhythms in our life as believers. And maybe this is the perfect season when some of the distractions and even some of the good things we like to do aren't available to us. Maybe you feel busier than ever, still working or taking care of your families, or maybe you feel like you've lost everything and you would love to be busy. But wherever we are at, let's take the time that you have in this season to trust that God is who He says He is, and that He will take care of you, and that He will provide your needs. Let's trust Him enough to rest, trust Him enough to lay down constant productivity and entertainment, or the filling of silence, all in exchange for closeness with Him and for rest for our souls. And I don't know about you, but I really want that. And in this time, more than ever. So I just want to encourage us to look at this in our lives and to see how we can pursue this rest with God, not as another pressure or a burden, but a sharing with Jesus that lightens your load and fills your soul and leads you to peace, even in a really uncertain situation. We need that, and the world needs that. So, God, would you help us to look to you always, but especially now? Would we trust that you are the one who provides for us? And would we come close to you and follow you and walk in step with you, that we may experience the rest of our souls? Would you show us how to rest? Would you show us how to use our time? Would you show us how to love you better? Thank you that we have your Spirit and we can connect with you and hear you. Thank you for the small things you've given us through this season. Thank you that you are comfort and peace. Thank you that you are hope. Thank you, in you is everything we need. So we just want to say that we trust you and we love you. Amen.